Everyone is doing well. My name is Anisa Wesley. This is my YouTube channel, and this is Faith and Footsteps. And we put our feet to our faith. Um, um, we have been talking about the last couple of days spiritual amnesia, and obviously, amnesia is a real thing, right? People get that um, for various reasons, and specifically, spiritual amnesia can come about in similar ways. I'm a very um, revelatory person where I get revelations from real life situations. And so that's how I'm able to, you know, make it make sense, so to speak, because, amnesia happens in real life, but it also happens spiritually. And a lot of times our physical realm is um, kind of like gives us an idea of the spiritual realm. Like even the fact that God is called Father, right? And a lot of times, if you have a bad relationship with your earthly father, or maybe you had a bad reception. What do you call it? Not reception. I can't think of the word right now. But if you had a bad image or you know representation, there you go, then most likely you're gonna have a struggle with God as a father, because the only representation you had on this earth, you know, didn't do you justice. And so I get revelations like that all the time, and that's just kind of how I think, and how God has gifted me to be able to see things like that. Good morning, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like this video and share it with someone who needs it. Um, so yeah, I think that it's so powerful to do that. So that's why I'm using the example of amnesia. I've never had amnesia, um, but I mean, I've had spiritual amnesia, but I've never had it physically. So if some of my examples sound off, then that's why, because I haven't fully experienced it, but I feel like this is a revelation that God gave me. So, with that being said, preventing spiritual amnesia, okay? Preventing it. So, in order to prevent something, you have to first know how it starts, right? And I think usually a really stressful event or even a traumatic event is what starts amnesia, right? Um, oh, morning. So, really stressful event, oftentimes talks about a traumatic like brain injury and started, um, things like that. And so basically, if you are, and this is the revelation God just gave me like right now, if you are dealing with, if you were wearing your armor, because remember, in Ephesians 6, there is a part of your spiritual armor called what now? Called your helmet of salvation. Oh Lord, I cannot make this stuff up. God is just so good. So good morning. Thank you for joining. Hello, hello. Please make sure to like this video and share it with someone who needs it, okay? Thank you. And subscribe if you haven't already. But come on, but yeah, cross. So wearing your helmet of salvation, making sure that your armor is secure, right? You got your helmet of salvation, you got your um, breastplate of righteousness, you got your shield of faith, um, your sword of the spirit, your shoes of peace, right? Your belt of truth, and all of these things are going to help you. Thank you for subscribing. All of these things are going to help you to prevent the spiritual amnesia. Now, a few weeks back, I did a series on the whole armor of God. So if you go on the playlist of Faith in the Footsteps, you're going to see me talking a lot about the armor of God. And I wrote a book um, called Please Excuse My Brain, Overcoming Fear and Living Out Your Purpose. And a whole chapter in that book is about putting on your spiritual armor, right? And so when you start thinking that you're good and you don't need to put on your helmet of salvation, you don't need to protect your mind, your will, and your emotions, your soul, then that's when you get susceptible to spiritual amnesia. So I think that, of course, you can always recover from amnesia, spiritual amnesia. You can recover. Um, in some cases, though, I was reading up yesterday because when I get when I get a revelation, I like to really like absorb it and even learn more about it. Good morning. Um, hello. Uh, Um, like to really absorb it. And I was reading about it, and most people get their memories back. There's different ways. Some people get them back naturally through, like we talked about yesterday, being in familiar environments. Doing similar things, and they just get triggers that remind them. And then some people have to go through some therapy and do some treatments and things like that. So depending on the severity of the spiritual amnesia, you may have to do some extra work. Okay. And this is why I'm saying prevent it, right? Prevention is always better than having to recover. That's so good. Come on. Prevention is always better than having to recover. And so, again, putting on your spiritual armor, Ephesians 6 is what we need to look into, and how we need to learn how to put on our armor securely every day, um, for this prevention method, right? The armor of God, there's only one defensive weapon, which is the sword of the spirit. And honestly, I think prayer is also a defensive weapon, but and it's also preventative. It's both. But the others are offensive, right? The others safeguard you. They're not active, weapons that you use to fight. So most of our weapons are for prevention. So really think about that. Not only just spiritual amnesia, but you know, what other things are we preventing? And I wanted to go back to that thought that I was having, because spiritual amnesia, sometimes people don't recover from that either, because they, one, don't realize that they have it, and maybe they get too deep in the disses, they get too deep in disappointment and discouragement, and despair, anger, they get too deep in those things. And it's like sometimes you have to wake yourself up. You have to, like David did in the book of Psalms. I feel like dogs do that on purpose. If they want to scare you, you know? Um, but like David encouraged himself. He said, why are you, good morning? He said, why are you so downcast, my soul? Why are you so disquieted? Hope in God, hope also in me, right? And David encouraged himself in the book of Psalms. And so sometimes when you're too far in the distance, it's hard to encourage yourself. And so you need outside encouragement like this, right? Which is why I do this, because sometimes you have to pull from someone else's encouragement in order to be encouraged, right? When you're too far, you're like, I can't pray. I can't, that's why it's important to go to church. It's important to a healthy, safe church that preaches God. Um, I do that caveat because not all churches preach God. Not all churches preach the Bible. Um, that's another discussion. Um, so yeah, but I think that's super important for us to remember. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining. I hear something. Okay. Um, Let me tell you, walking in the city will keep you on your toes. Wednesday, I'm gonna do faith and footsteps at the beach. It's a lot less to worry about, or on a hike or something. But for now, you get to see me in these streets. Yeah, but it's okay because I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, and it makes it more entertaining. But I say all that to say, I'm not gonna keep you guys long. But remember that anything is preventative, right? Anything is preventative. Some things happen in life that you can't prevent for, you can't necessarily prepare for, but you can always recover. So don't go out here haphazardly without your armor on and then thinking that you're not going to come home with bruises and dings and the disses, right? Like, don't, you have to do the things physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Go back and watch the previous two videos that I did this week about amnesia to learn more about that and subscribe so that you can continue to learn and be encouraged as we learn together, as we encourage each other, and I encourage myself as well in these areas. But yeah, so your only homework for me tonight or today is read Ephesians 6, verses 10 until the end. Bars. Come on. Verses 10 until the end. And, you know, um, pray. Ask the Lord, how would you have me apply the whole body armor of God to my life? What revelation are you trying to give me from reading this, right? The new revelation you're trying to give me from me. I got a new revelation from it. And like I said, I already did a series on it and I didn't even think of that. So that's absolutely the Holy Spirit, you know? So again, remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thank you so much for joining. Remember, you have everything that you need to live your life bravely. And God has not given you a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. Bye.